And we're simply going to pour that sauce over the shredded chicken. And as always requested by you, I'm going to do a taste test here. So I'll get some of that lovely chicken, the cheese, and the cauliflower rice at the bottom. Hey guys, it's the Keto King here, and today we are making a slow cooker buffalo chicken cauliflower rice bowl. Sounds like a mouthful, but it is really easy to make. Uses one of my favorite appliances, the slow cooker, is incredibly tasty, and of course keeps it keto. The ingredients you'll need for this buffalo chicken cauliflower rice bowl are some cauliflower, some chicken, onion powder, some stock or broth. I'm using chicken broth here, some olive oil, Franks RedHot buffalo wing sauce, some Worcestershire sauce, salt, pepper, cheese, and some poultry spice or some poultry seasoning. That's it, and let's get to this keto recipe. Okay, we're first gonna make the initial sauce for the crock pot here. All you're gonna need is some chicken broth or stock. You could use some vegetable stock or broth. And we're going to put in approximately a cup of this stock or broth. Then we're going to add in a teaspoon of poultry seasoning. This is some homemade poultry seasoning I made myself. It's really just a combination of a bunch of spices and herbs. You could absolutely put any herbs and spices in here. This is just a guide for you. Really tweak it and adjust it according to your preferences and really what you have in your house. Then we're going to add in half a teaspoon of onion powder. And if you like garlic, you could put in half a teaspoon of garlic powder too. I'm not a huge fan. Again, don't shoot me for that, but you could add that in now if you wanted to. Give that a stir to try and incorporate that a bit. Okay, so I'm bringing across my crock pot or slow cooker as it's also called. And we're going to cut 4 chicken breasts into the crock pot. Just simply cut it long ways across the breast. And just lay it down in the crock pot. Again, it doesn't really matter about the size of these pieces of chicken. Just approximately 4 medium, I'd say to large breasts. That should be fine. Alright, so we got our chicken in there. And get rid of these gloves. Then we're going to take our little mixture here with the stock and some spices and just simply pour that over the chicken. Alright, and then for this crock pot, most of these crock pots or slow cookers have 2 modes, a slow or low mode and a faster or hotter mode. So I'm going to put on the high mode, which is number 2 on this one, and then what I'm going to do is put it on for 3 hours. Just need to cook this for 3 hours on a high heat. As I said in my previous crock pot recipe, which I'll put a link to in the top corner of your screen now so you can check that one out. This isn't any special crock pot. Really, this is one of the cheapest ones I found at Walmart. Anything will do. These are pretty universal and all of them will work for these crock pot or slow cooker recipes. Right, now we're going to make another batch of sauce which we're going to use for that chicken once it's been cooked in the slow cooker and we drain out that sauce. This is going to be the new one. So we're going to add a 1/4 cup of the chicken broth or chicken stock, and again, any broth or stock will do. Then we're using this fun ingredient, Franks RedHot. Everyone should know Franks RedHot. This is their buffalo wing sauce. Now surprisingly, this one is 0 carbs. Now I'm not sure if you can see that. Let me see if I can get it in focus there without the shadows blocking it. So it says 0 grams of carbs. One of the things you got to be careful with 0 grams of carbs, especially you need to look at the serving size. They are allowed to round down. The legislation is different in different areas or various countries or states, so they're allowed to round down. So just know that there's probably a point something of a carb in this 50 milliliters, 1 tablespoon worth of Franks. So it's not completely 0, but if it says 0, you know you're not getting a huge amount of carbohydrates. So this is good for us to use here in the sauce. If you don't have and can't find this locally near you, I'll put a link to where you can find this on Amazon.com if that's somewhere where you shop. Okay, and then we're gonna put 3/4 of a cup of this Franks RedHot buffalo wing sauce. That's a half a cup. And that's a quarter cup. And I'm no mathematician, but to me that makes it 3/4 cup of the Franks RedHot. And if you can't find this buffalo one, yeah, you could use the regular Franks RedHot. It would work just fine. Then you're going to pop in 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then 2 tablespoons of the sauce that everyone hates to pronounce on videos. That's 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. And give that all a stir. Alright, now we're going to prepare the cauliflower base to this recipe. We can do this while the last part of this chicken recipe is cooking on high in the slow cooker. Now I've somewhat cheated and already got the cauliflower florets here, already cut perfectly like that. Now this packet is around, it says 907 grams, 2 pounds worth of cauliflower. Really, it doesn't matter how much or how little you make. You can make too much and then have left over for other keto meals that you want to use the cauliflower rice for. There's 2 ways to make this cauliflower rice. One, you can do it in a food processor like I have here. That's the easier way in my opinion. You still do need to, even though they're going in the processor, cut them up into smaller pieces. It just makes the processor's job that much easier and ensures that it doesn't have big blobs or big chunks in there after you process it. So just grab all of them, cut them up into smallish pieces, maybe around that size. Now if you don't have a food processor, don't despair. You're not out of luck. If you just have a box grater like this, you can absolutely do this cauliflower rice there. A little bit more manual work. Just get the cauliflower florets and just grate it against the box grater. And you end up coming out with not perfect cauliflower rice, but it still comes out in something resembling the rice. Not as good as the food processor will get it, but you can still make this cauliflower rice nonetheless. Links to any of the products or appliances that I use in these videos will be provided in the description box below. I'll put a link to it on Amazon.com if that's something that you use or somewhere where you shop. Oh yes, and of course, the third way you can make cauliflower rice is go into your local grocery store and buy cauliflower rice already pre-made. That is obviously the ultimate convenience, but I thought I'd show you how to make the cauliflower rice if you don't have that in your local stores. Alright, and this is pretty much what it turns out like. Looks like a bit of a mess, but we're going to bomb this in our food processor. Now I find with the cauliflower rice, don't load up the food processor right up to the top, otherwise it just doesn't really get to all of the cauliflower and you end up with those big large clumps which aren't going to work for your cauliflower rice. And then just process it in your food processor. Just one thing, you want to stop this before it gets too fine. It needs to, as ridiculous as it sounds, be in the size and shape of a piece of rice. Each grain needs to be a rice-sized piece. If it gets too small, once you cook it in the pan, it gets very mushy, and that's obviously not what you want. You want to somewhat replicate that rice texture and size. And that's all it takes, really not a lot. And this is what it's come out looking like. I hope you can see that on the camera. Really trying to get rice size. This is maybe a little bit bigger than the rice size, but then there are some much smaller ones than rice. So you just got to find that balance. I think this looks good for me here. And just repeat the process. I must warn you, this cauliflower rice is very messy. All on the floor, everywhere. Not fun for the cleaning up, so that pre-bought cauliflower rice for sure is a winner. And this is really what it should come out looking like. You will find some bigger pieces. Just simply pull them out, either blend them up, process them up again, or just completely take them out and leave the rest like that. Alright, and then to make the cauliflower rice couldn't be easier. I'm going to show you the absolute bare bones way to make this cauliflower rice. There's lots of variations to it, lots of spices and flavors you can put in, but this is the bare bones. Again, I'll put another link to my cauliflower fried rice recipe, which is awesome. Check it out, it's in the top corner of your screen now. But this is how to make cauliflower rice bare bones. Put your plate onto a medium-high heat and give it a good generous helping of olive oil at the bottom. Not too much though, because you obviously don't want that cauliflower rice to absorb all of that olive oil and become mushy. Alright, now that the oil is nice and hot, I'm going to add in our cauliflower rice. And now you want to add in a generous helping of salt. I'm using some pink Himalayan salt here. You want to add some ground black pepper in. You want to just give that a stir. Now you could add in any types of flavors in here. You could add some garlic, put in some actual garlic, put in some garlic powder. You could put onion powder in, any sort of herbs in here. Really, those would go nicely. Spice it up, try some different things. But really what you're trying to do in here is get this cauliflower soft. But you don't want it to be completely soft. You want it to be just soft enough that it's not crunchy, but you still want it to have a decent texture to it. As I mentioned earlier, you don't want it to go mushy. That's what you definitely don't want. So definitely err on the side of it being a little harder than a little softer, because you can always bomb it back in the pot or the pan and cook it a little bit longer. Once it's too soft, you're done for. Just keep tasting it as you're cooking, just to test the softness or firmness of the cauliflower fried rice. Alright, and this has probably been 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes cooking in here. I think it's good. In terms of texture, as I said, you're going to have to taste it to get a feel as to whether it's cooked or not. Turn off your heat and move it off the plate. And then after the 3 hours, you're just going to grab a colander and drain out the chicken in that colander. And you'll have the chicken left here. You'll see it'll have some of the herbs and spices on it, which is absolutely perfect. Alright guys, so this is actually the next evening, but I'm going to show you as if I did this all in one day. So we've drained out the chicken out of the slow cooker or the crock pot, taken out the water, let it cool enough that you can actually shred it. This has been in the fridge overnight, so it's a little harder than what it would normally be. Once it comes directly out the crock pot, it's really soft. Grab yourself 2 forks and just simply shred it like this, pulling apart the chicken. It should come apart extremely easily. So now your crock pot should still be warm from cooking this chicken. All you've done is taken it out to shred it. All you've done is taken out the chicken to drain it and shred it. I've reheated this for my purposes because I'm doing this the next day. And then you're just going to add your chicken directly back into the crock pot. Then we grab the sauce that you made using that Franks RedHot buffalo sauce. And we're simply going to pour that sauce over the shredded chicken. Then you're going to lightly combine the shredded chicken with that sauce. And again, you want to do this fairly gently because you don't want that chicken to end up just a sloppy mess. If you do it too vigorously, that chicken's just going to shred even more. Alright, and there we go. Looking good, smelling amazing. And we're going to put the lid on and just let that heat up a bit. So once the chicken and the sauce is hot enough in the crock pot and you're ready to dish it, grab your cauliflower rice that you've just made earlier, put it in a bowl. Grab your beautiful looking buffalo chicken here. Look how good that looks. And then we're just going to simply put that on top. Alright, then next you can put on some cheese. Honestly, what would go wonderfully here is some blue cheese on top. You know, that buffalo chicken and blue cheese combination. Cannot beat that. I'm going to put on this cheese that I have here. Crumble the cheese on top. Put as much or as little of the cheese as you want. And you end up with some keto buffalo chicken cauliflower rice ball like this. And as always requested by you, I'm going to do a taste test here. So I'll get some of that lovely chicken, the cheese, and the cauliflower rice at the bottom. Well, here we go guys. If you like Franks RedHot, then you're going to like this because that's the predominant flavor in here. It's got that spicy buffalo chicken's flavor from that Franks RedHot buffalo sauce. The cheese pairs well with that buffalo chicken flavor. And the cauliflower rice, well, I'm sure you guys have all had that before. It's fantastic as always. Look guys, this is a really tasty dish. Very easy to make. Again, great for keto meal prep. You can make more of this and keep a bunch of that buffalo chicken in the fridge, and then you can just simply add it to cauliflower rice that you have or any other base that you're going to use that buffalo chicken with. It definitely fits into my busy lifestyle, and I'm sure it will into yours. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Like the video, comment down below, I love hearing from you, and subscribe to the Keto King channel so you don't miss any new recipe videos I upload. And as always, keep it keto. As I said in my previous as I said in my previous crock pot recipe, now I'm bringing across my slow cooker or crock pot now I'm bringing across my slow cooker or crock pot, and you're just going to repeat that process. You know how many times I do that? I put the stuff in the food processor without putting in the blade again. There's gonna be a lot of bloopers for this one. I must warn you, this cauliflower rice is very messy. All on the floor, everywhere. Not fun for the cleaning up, so that pre-bought cauliflower rice for sure is a winner. What? And then after the 3 hours, you're just gonna grab a colander and drain out the chicken in that colander. Oh my goodness. That's okay. Oh shit.